welcome, bienvenido, however you'd like to say hello or welcome in your native language. This is the first chapter to the Mad Chatter podcast and YouTube channel. Our description is we deal with comics, video games, movies, and life questions that we all talk about together. I am one of the three podcasters known as RJ, but I also like to go by the nickname as Q. And now I'm going to pass this ladle to my friend to the left.
Hi, I'm John, aka the Romanian American hybrid known as J Hooks.
I'm Devin. I have multiple nicknames. Dr. D, Dr. DK, Devintron. I like video games, nerdy culture, all kinds of good stuff. And today we're going to be talking about supervillains, and we have a bracket system set up. We wanted to avoid a lot of the stronger villains that could easily just wipe out some of the lesser villains, but we wanted to make sure there's some good ones in there too. We have 8 DC villains that are going to be versing each other until there's one final villain, and we have 8 Marvel villains until we have one final Marvel villain. And then we're going to talk about basically which out of all these matchups, we're going to talk about who we believe would win in a battle.
It's like an elimination till the end to find out, bringing a DC villain to a Marvel villain to face each other to find out the ultimate villain at the end.
It takes a 2/3 vote for the winner to move on.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah. So, I guess we would like to start off with the left side top bracket of the DC section.
Yeah. Actually, before we get started, we aren't professionals or know a whole lot about, especially the comics and stuff, but we know movies and stuff, and yeah.
Basically, our knowledge is as far as movies and TV shows. We don't have those massive comic collections and just read them all day and know so much. It's just a very casual knowledge.
Yeah, it's really just kind of us thinking what we think, not necessarily what might be right or what you guys think. And it would be cool if you guys do this along with us or whatever listening.
Yeah. Do anything down in the comments, what you think what your bracket would be, or what your supervillain at the end should be, or what you want it to be. But back to our first bracket at the top left corner for the DC, we have the Joker and Lex Luthor hashing it out.
Yeah, I think this is a really good one to start with because they're both kind of main villains for Superman and Batman. And I guess we should just take turns by...
Yeah, I guess I could go first, but in all honesty, I know there's some... I'm not as much, capable knowledge of comic book villains. I'm more... I'm not the hugest of comic book movie guys, but I'm more of the, more dramatic DC side. So I know a little bit about some villains and not a lot. So this step would be more like Lex Luthor I don't know much about, but I know Joker... if you think of DC, you think of Joker. He in the Dark Knight series, the guy was excellent. He could rig, explosives. He was excellent at it. He could lead you to traps, psychologically mess with you. I mean, he had no really empathy either. He could kill you on sight. He really could mess with you. On the other hand, though, Lex Luthor, I've been told, I've shown that he's got this little mech suit that he wears, and he's very powerful. I'm not gonna lie, but it's the Joker, I don't know what it is, but I feel like that's my favorite opinion for this round, just because of the psychological twist he puts on his victims and the lack of empathy that he could just literally walk into battle without a care. He doesn't care if he dies, but he'll kill his victim if he wants to.
Alright.
I don't really know how much else to say, but this is a really even battle. But I would have to give the edge to Lex Luthor because he goes toe-to-toe with Superman, which is basically an alien with superpowers compared to Batman. So I think he's more combat ready than the Joker.
Yeah, this one, a little tough for me, to be honest. I feel like what he was saying earlier, the Joker has definitely a big psychological edge, and he has a lot of interesting, he has some type of laughing gas that's very deadly and stuff. But Lex Luthor is a billionaire genius, much like Batman, but more of a villain form. And he likes using, and a lot of games, movies, and comics, he likes preferably using a big mech suit, which is very powerful. So Um, I'd have to say, uh, Lex Luthor too, but very slimly. Like, this one is very close.
I do have to agree. That's kind of it's pretty difficult. I mean, Lex Luthor. I didn't remember the fact that he goes up against Superman, which once I realized that I was like, oh wow. I just realized that he goes against a man who's like bulletproof. He can travel at the speed of sound, basically. So,
wow. So Lex Luthor is really one of the smarter guys in the DC universe compared to where Joker. I think he's smarter than many lead on him to be, but it's just Lex Luthor would probably find a way to outsmart the Joker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So should we have our final votes then?
Yeah, I still vote Joker though, just because one of my favorite villains too. But I feel like Lex Luthor could inevitably take down Joker. So we will pass that on to Lex Luthor into the next round, and the next one.
Me and John both voted. Yeah, Lex.
Yeah, basically Lex.
So J Hooks is Lex, and so is DK. He is Lex, and me Q voted for Joker.
So our next DC matchup. This one is Sinestro and Bizarro. Sinestro is much like the Green Lantern, if you don't know him, except he's yellow, and he's part of the Fear Corps, which is the same thing, except he's powered by fear, not willpower, like the Green Lantern is. And Bizarro is a opposite version of Superman. He has all the same powers, and actually, I believe he is more powerful than Superman. But the thing is, his intelligence is very low. Like, he was getting tricked by common people and stuff. In one of the comics, he wore a scarecrow costume and thought that was a disguise.
Yeah. But I remember, I think I kind of agree with you with that, because there is the one comic that we saw where, what was it? It was like Superboy. He went up to collect kryptonite in a lead suit and decided to throw it at Bizarro, but he seemed to catch it and throw it right back at him without any harm done to him.
Yeah, he's immune to
and it's really hard to say, because I know a lot of cartoons that we've seen. He's the slower mind. I'm not, we're not gonna put that away. He does seem like more of a slower Superman, but he's still very tough. He seems very durable, and it's like he won't go away as much as you think he does, And then Sinestro, he lives off of fear, so that's kind of why I'm thinking if Bizarro has a little bit of like the slow kind of mind, and what if he gets scared easily? Could that put Sinestro at the angle of taking Bizarro down?
Perhaps.
I don't know.
I feel like it could go many ways, but Sinestro will try to contain Bizarro, but he's just way too powerful for Sinestro. I think Bizarro, just in the end, will find a way to destroy Sinestro, even with all the attempts Sinestro will make.
Me personally, I feel like Bizarro is definitely, in what I could tell, he seemed more powerful than Superman. So I feel like in a fight, I believe Bizarro would win. But the thing is, he was easily tricked in a lot of shows and whatever. I feel like Sinestro, as long as he's smart enough not to try to go out with brute force, he could easily just trick him into going into some type of trap, or leading him. Just one of Superman's original plans to get rid of him, because he was so powerful, was just throw him in space, because Superman believed that Bizarro wouldn't be able to find his way back. That's how dumb he is. So I feel like that's something Sinestro could probably do with his power ring, or just trick him somehow, and just I feel like Sinestro has the advantage. So I'd have to vote Sinestro.
Oh, it comes down to me. See, it's hard to say, because I am the tiebreaker at this point. But it's like, I feel like Bizarro, he seems more powerful than Superman, strength-wise, like durability. Because, I mean, it took, he's just survived a nuclear bomb military site. And it's like, if he's stronger than Superman, and the only thing that I think Sinestro could really hold strength against him is like the fear of a slow mind, which I'm not poking fun at the whole slow mind bit, But I'm saying like, you know, if he's able to be kind of like beat or like hit around a lot, you know, and he can take it for a long period of time, I feel like he could actually get the upper hand on Sinestro in this situation. So my vote has to go to Bizarro.
All right.
So I make it 2/3 Bizarro.
Yep.
Yep, Bizarro won that one.
Next one's very interesting for me personally because King Shark is a personal favorite of mine.
Yeah. Big fan favorite.
So I'm trying not to be biased here. Got Deathstroke and King Shark. So Deathstroke's got one of the smartest combat minds in DC. But then there's King Shark who rules all the sharks of the sea and the ocean.
Yeah,
the
he's
ocean
like,
by there.
is he like a god of sharks? I remember?
Basically.
Yeah.
I mean, there's many different versions of King Shark. He's been huge, like humongous, like on the Flash TV show. But he's also been portrayed as more, you know, about human size. It just depends the way you see him. The way I see him is more of a humongous shark that could easily just crush any human. Deathstroke, I don't think his bullets are going to affect King Shark, but if he had to, it'd probably be his swords. But then, I just think King Shark would easily just crush Deadpool before he'd even have a chance to try to pull out that sword. It's a one-sided.
I hate to interrupt, but I think you said Deadpool over instead of Deathstroke.
Deathstroke.
Well, I mean, it's fine, you know,
Same thing.
but you know, it's kind of hard because I know that, like I said, I'm not a guy that, you know, I don't really catch a lot of TV shows. I'm more of like the darker, dramatic kind of twist guy. You know, I like those kind of shows, like Dexter, and all that fun stuff. But it's like the one clip I saw that J Hook showed me is that King Shark looks to be fairly bulletproof. So I feel like it would leave Deathstroke at a disadvantage at that point because, you know, bullets, if he can't stop King Shark, he has to resolve to a close-up encounter with swords. And the size King Shark is compared to like a human, I feel like King Shark could really put Deathstroke in a bit of a back in the corner, which is surprising because I've always liked Deathstroke, and I don't like to be biased either because there's a lot of villains and stuff on here that I like and love. It's really cool.
Yeah.
But
yeah, like Deathstroke, he definitely has a lot of gadgets. He's kind of like a pretty badass like bounty hunter, I believe. And King Shark is pretty much a big shark with super strength. There's not much about him, but he's just a big shark, which is pretty funny and cool. But yeah, in the Flash clip I watched, he did, even though they ended up taking him out pretty fast, he did seem powerful in what they did show. They had two guys shooting like machine guns at him, and he wasn't affected at all. He was standing still and started talking to them while he was being shot, and then he was swimming as fast as Flash was running on water. So he's definitely pretty powerful. I really wanted to say Deathstroke just because I know I really like him and I'm a fan of him a lot. But honestly, I think my vote goes to King Shark.
I would have to put King Shark above the Deathstroke level. How much it hurts that like bounty hunter death guy, you know, he's hunting down people.
Yeah.
But it's like King Shark, the guy, I mean, the weakness I saw in the clips, because I haven't caught up on Flash or anything, it just seems like he can be stopped just by electrocution. Like, he's a fish, you know, or a shark. He can get electrocuted, which immobilizes or paralyzes the guy. And, you know, Deathstroke, like I said, he's only got so much gadgets he can use. And bullets are like, King Shark, you know, like little flies. You just smack them. You know.
I mean, Deathstroke is just a human.
Yeah,
too.
he is just a mere human, but with just, you know, a few gadgets.
He doesn't have any powers.
He's got shiny things compared to brute force, and shiny things only last so long. You know, but so that would probably, you know, J Hooks, I guess.
I mean, he's a god. He's a shark god.
Yeah, I mean, he's a god of sharks.
A god's a god.
So is that a 3-0 vote?
Yeah,
so that's our first sweep for King Shark.
Yeah, first 3-0 sweep against Deathstroke.
So, before we move on to the next round, a quick kind of recap. Our next, our semifinal round for the first two DC matches is going to be Lex Luthor and Bizarro. And then King Shark will be facing whoever wins this one. And our two...
This matchup's very interesting because Mr. Freeze and Zoom are going to be going at it, and Mr. Freeze could stop Zoom with his freeze gun, but is Zoom too fast for him?
Yeah, if you don't know who Zoom is basically, imagine a villain version of
he also goes
the
by
Flash.
the Reverse Flash. He's the opposite of the Flash.
Yeah, even though they really aren't they like the same?
They have the same powers, but
He's a villain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has no morals.
It's like, the thing is though, this is what I mean by trying not to be biased again, because, you know, I haven't heard a lot of that, you know, superhero, supervillain kind of comics, and it's hard. I've never, to be honest, before this, I'd never heard of Zoom. You know, I've never heard there was an opposite of Flash. But Mr. Freeze, that guy, you know, I grew up knowing that, you know, the catchphrase, you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger, chill or something. That was a horrible impersonation. But I mean, you know, you need to chill out or something, you know. But it's like, speed, I mean, the speed, you know, going all chemistry on people, which I don't know they really want to learn now. But I've learned that, you know, if we want to go in depth on this round, I've learned that particles and stuff like that, speed, it slows down in cold. So, I mean, I don't know if we're going to add environment, which I don't think we should go into that depth, you know, but, you know, cold slows things down, you know, and I just think that Mr. Freeze, despite Zoom's ability to be running fast, I mean, King Shark could see Flash, you know, in the one clip we saw. So it's like, wouldn't Mr. Freeze be able to do the same in some essence? I mean, and if he could be, he could stop him with a freeze ray or freeze cold. You know, that's kind of my take. But if I had to make my vote now, without like a rebuttal, I would say.
I think for now on, we should kind of hold our votes to the end just to make sure there isn't any like.
Confusion.
But
I'm just excited. This round is really cool. I like the DC heroes.
Well, no, we've been doing that for the past
I said heroes. It's villains, but
yeah.
I mean, I feel like Zoom's reaction to a freeze gun being shot at him it'd be faster than the actual ice hitting him or any type of cold thing. So, but I mean, Mr. Freeze could still get the shot in. It's just you have to hit a moving target, and especially one of the fastest moving targets you can hit. So, I
think they also said what was it? Because I mean, Flash and Zoom they're practically the same guys? Like, I mean,
no.
Oh, okay. So there's like, is there a different type of like? Do they have the same speed? I guess you could say.
Probably. Yeah.
I was about to say, because I know that there was a cartoon I watched where Flash is so fast he can literally move through walls.
Yeah.
So I mean, could Zoom use that? You know, I'm just trying to put a little input. I'm not trying to stomp on.
I think it's more of Zoom would be able to avoid any type of freeze blast his way, and that's what Mr. Freeze has to offer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Mr. Freeze, I don't believe he's like any type of like brainiac like Lex Luthor is or anything, but Mr. Freeze I feel like he could just, even if he's not able to hit him, he could just spray around him on the floor. And I feel like, I mean, I don't know how stable. I don't think Zoom's going to be able to be that stable the floor of ice.
Actually, that's a great point because it would be a slippery surface for him to run on.
Yeah.
And I think also,
I don't know about you, but I fell a lot of times on ice.
Yeah, a lot of times.
And going super speed probably won't help you too much.
It's like fast things on ice don't really end out in a stable condition.
I mean, once he hits the ground, I don't think Zoom's going to be able to get up and react to that freeze ray blast.
Also, a lot of things where you've seen Mr. Freeze is you see him fighting or in combat in a cold environment.
Yeah,
you see, icicles.
A lot of times he will not leave. Like, a lot of his places he goes to is inside of like some type of warehouse or somewhere where
and it's cold.
Yeah,
it's like snowing practically in the room. But
so But yeah, so I really think that if he like freezes the ground, or he'll be able to immobilize Zoom, and then after Zoom falls down or gets immobilized, he'll be able to spray him then.
I think another great point would be Zoom could end the fight very fast if he just goes straight for Mr. Freeze, avoids any blast thrown his direction, and just kind of just uses the vibrations to go right through his body and just grab the heart, rip it out.
That's pretty brutal, man.
Savage. That should be on Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, like a Mortal Kombat fatality or something.
Zoom versus Mr. Freeze.
But are we like ready?
Yeah, I think.
So I can see both sides right now.
Yeah.
I think my vote.
It's a tough round. I think
Yeah.
Despite people may not hearing of Zoom, I think this is a good matchup. It's speed against complete like frost tundra.
Yeah.
And it's really
almost opposite.
Yeah, and it's a crazy mix up. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. But I say my vote have to go for Mr. Freeze.
J Hooks.
I feel like I'm gonna give the edge to Zoom because I could see this being a very quick matchup.
All right. Tiebreaker again, which I don't like deciding, but it's fun doing this. I can see both sides are very clear. Like I can see the speed. Zoom could literally, if he gets a clear shot, destroy Mr. Freeze. If he gets that critical shot, he could literally immobilize this guy very quickly. Mm-hmm. And I think another thing is, if he gets that gun away from Mr. Freeze, Mr. Freeze is toast.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's the same with Mr. Freeze. If he gets that critical shot, he could stop Zoom.
Yeah.
And, he could, put him down. But it's really, this is a really hard round. But I would lean towards Mr. Freeze. Just because, the fact that, DK, no one knows what happens. We don't have, like, a simulator. But, whatever happens, Freeze could freeze the ground. If he's fighting in his environment, I think the edge is Mr. Freeze.
Yeah, I'd say, as long as as long as they knew about the fight, and they even started across, areas, they could probably spray on, he could just spray the floor, and, that'd be an interesting fight. I'd love to see it.
Yeah.
Very frosty. Mr. Freeze has moved on.
So Mr. Freeze wins that one, and yeah, I think we should move to Marvel and come back to our semifinal.
We got our semifinals set up for DC, so we'll switch or shift over to the Marvel side of villains.
Now this matchup is two of the biggest powerful villains that we have on this whole tournament. One is the Mandarin, who has very powerful rings, obviously, and he's a kung fu master.
Yeah. He's a descendant from Genghis Khan, I believe.
Yeah,
so he wants complete domination. He's really
just luckily stumbled upon some rings on an alien spaceship, and he's the Mandarin now.
Yeah. Got a cool Fu Manchu though.
And then we got the leader of the villain training school, Taskmaster, who, can mimic your moves, but you can't take your powers.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah. This matchup is very interesting because they're both very different. I personally don't know. I've heard of the Mandarin before, but the Taskmaster, I just recently heard about him, and these are both lesser-known heroes. Villains. But yeah, this is going to be an interesting round because they're both pretty powerful.
Yeah. I don't know if you, I'll put my input, how we go. Mandarin, another person that I really hope I don't, I stop breaking comic people's hearts today, because there's a lot of people I don't know, and it's, hard for me to make my point or gesture.
If somebody's watching this, we know what you're thinking.
Yeah, we know. You're probably like,
we're all
what are these
pretty
guys?
Much casuals.
Yeah, they're probably like, what are these guys doing? They don't know what they're talking about.
Probably all started with King Shark.
Yeah, what the King Shark beating Deathstroke? What the fuck?
Mandarin, I think the rings, I didn't get to read all of them, but I know that Mandarin, there's these rings that, I think there was one ring that he could slow time down so slow, but to people it looks fast.
Yeah.
But it's like Taskmaster. Did we ever classify, or do we know that he's a human. He grew up as a little boy in Texas.
Yeah.
So it's like, as him, he could depending on, this is kind of like difficult because Taskmaster, he he can mimic moves, he can predict what you're doing next, but he can't take your powers. It's hard to say. Like he can mimic every combat style you do, but he can never take your powers. He can only avoid of what you're using. So Mandarin in that case, he has these rings that he could basically slow time down. He can, I think there was like one, the white ring. He could open up the depths of space or something and invite like a white ray or so. I can't. Someone has to like look this up. I can't remember, but Taskmaster as a human, the thing I can only see advantage in his perspective is he can mimic, he can dodge, but when can he take down a dude who can stop time and open up like depths of space to let down like rays of like destruction?
No, I'm not sure if he can stop time. He's just he slows.
Yeah,
time.
He slows it down, but it's so slow. To people, it's like it's super fast.
He isn't slowed, so he basically kind of I don't know to the extent of Zoom or Flash, but similar to that.
Yeah, but this is another tough round because Taskmaster, he's not my favorite, but he's one of like the villains I go, that's a really cool idea to have a villain mimic a character moveset, because then it makes a really, really tough battle,
Taskmaster is one of the more best combat like villains in Marvel, so, and he's nearly taken out the Avengers at some points, so I mean, Mandarin, he can be taken out by Iron Man, one of the Avengers. So
yeah, like for me, the Mandarin, he seems very capable. Like all of his rings are very powerful. Some of them he can shoot like toxic gas, more like a smoke cloud that's very deadly. He can shoot lightning, just plain like ray beam, and it's all like he's pretty powerful. But for me, the one thing that and Taskmaster I believe would be able to defeat that. But the thing is, even if you can mimic his moves, when he uses that ring to slow time around him, I feel like knowing what he's going to do and being able to even copy what he's going to be able to do, I feel like that one ring that kind of gives him that speed will be able to defeat the Taskmaster, because he can mimic some move, but the thing is, he's going to be doing it a lot slower than the Mandarin, and by that time, the Mandarin could have already like struck him with something.
That is tough.
So
that is tough because, specifically, I think Taskmaster's more of like what J Hook said. He's melee combat master. He's like, if there's a melee combat,
but you're going against a kung fu master.
Oh yeah, you can't forget, man.
But it's like
kung fu master.
But it's like when you have a guy who is, kung fu master
with a Fu Manchu.
A Fu Manchu, you don't mess with those guys.
Yeah.
But a Genghis Khan relative, and he has these rings that give him these powers. I don't know if you could specify, could he mimic or get out of the way of these rings in the middle of a combat? If he could predict that's what's going to happen, could he get out of the area of which it'll happen? I
really feel like, with the rest of his rings and stuff like that, definitely. But that one ring that allows him to go faster, if he does some, like, backflip, like, karate master, like, karate chop, like, Taskmaster being able to mimic it, that would be great. But the thing is, if he's going a lot faster than the Taskmaster, because it says he slows the time around him down to make him look like he's going fast. So it's not him going fast. He's literally slowing the time down
for him to move.
Because if he was able to mimic his speed, which I don't think he'd be able to, that would be something. But he's literally slowing time, not speeding himself up. So the Taskmaster is slowed down, and so I think I'll go ahead and put my vote in if you guys are all ready.
I want to put in like one last point because I feel like we're kind of like silencing J Hooks a little bit because I don't think he's talked a lot on this one, but I do want to bring up one point though, is that alien rings with human armor and weapons, And it's kind of like assuming, well, that technology's great, but it's like a human. And Taskmaster doesn't have the things to do what Mandarin does. Taskmaster would have to like really sneak up and put this guy down quick. You can't,
Well, Taskmaster does. Well, John, you can go ahead.
Put in
your I'm just gonna put my vote in right now with a simple but powerful, fast roundhouse kick to the face. Mandarin's going in for the win.
I think I honestly would have picked Taskmaster if Mandarin didn't have that ring that slowed time around him. But my vote goes to Mandarin.
Yeah, I would have to say Mandarin takes this sweep because that's my vote too. He puts Taskmaster away.
So the Mandarin enters King Shark territory with that sweep.
Yeah, second sweep of the night.
Yeah. So the next round we have, I really want to see how this works out because we've got up on deck Magneto and Carnage. Yeah. And just my little like input, just to like start it off, Carnage, from what I understand is, it's like Venom. It's kind of is it the same alien? I think, but it's like Venom's alien who gave birth to that other alien like liquid goo. I think and it got into the skin or blood of the serial killer. But because of that, it was like a DNA strain from Venom. It made the guy who got this alien inside of him like twice as strong and stronger than Spider-Man and Venom combined. And he can like he literally has a thirst for killing. In the one video, the origin, he may look up random people on the phone book just to kill them. He has this thirst for blood, and it's like he won't stop until he's either killed or the alien is removed from the host, But Magneto, he's got the powers of moving metal, basically. He can bend, shape, do crazy things with metal. Like the one X-Men, is it X-Men Origins? He stopped all those missiles in the air.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and he threw it back, and I'm like, that's some deep power right there.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that goes for Carnage is that he's not made out of metal.
Yeah.
But then again, metal's all around us, so that's a crazy environment to fight in. But Carnage has killed many of people, even his own grandmother.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. That guy.
Push him down the stairs.
Yeah. I don't think he can push Magneto down the stairs, but I mean, he can try.
For me, this is definitely an interesting one. Like, Magneto's definitely one of the stronger villains in X-Men. But Carnage, he was very powerful. He actually, Spider-Man and Venom had to team up to take him down, I believe.
Yeah.
And, but I mean, Magneto could, I feel like he could, if there's enough metal around him, which in a lot of areas I would assume there's so much metal around us.
Yeah, like skyscrapers, cars, whatever.
Yeah, he could just, in one of the movies, he moved the whole, like, Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of metal, so I'm pretty sure he can do a lot of things. So he could like simply just encase himself in metal, and then while he's encased in metal, like shoot these spikes out towards Carnage or put spikes around his metal casing, and that would make it very difficult for Carnage to be able to combat Magneto. But Carnage can shapeshift and do things like that. He's often depicted, he shapeshifts one of his hands into an axe, a blade, or some type of weapon. And he's even had multiple limbs at one point.
For Magneto to win, he's going to have to crush Carnage just with anything. But for Carnage to win, it's going to have to be a pretty brutal kill. It's going to be, a slit of the throat or anything crazy like that. Maybe a little Carnage tentacles going through his body.
Whoa, okay. It was really graphic. But I like what Devin said. But Magneto, and I want to bring this point up just because, it might not be relevant because it's like a hero-villain mix. But Spider-Man 3. J Hooks has very strong feelings about Tobey Maguire. A lot of people do. I'm not bashing on but
it's just mainly that dance he does when he turns evil with the new haircut.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. But I remember the scene where Spider-Man at the end literally starts to like kick back and start beating like just beating the shit out of like Venom, and he puts those poles in the ground, and I noticed that the ringing of these metal clacking and made this like the alien freak.
That's.
And I was thinking,
Carnage has the same weakness.
Yeah, he has that same weakness, and I remember it was when Devin said, Magneto could lift up the Golden State Bridge. That's like 8,981 feet, which is 1.7 miles of complete metal.
Yeah.
That's a lot of metal, and I wouldn't think it would be that hard for Magneto to stick some poles in the ground and ring it really loud for Carnage to just crumble.
I mean, hell, he could, with the metal, he could form his own bell, just ring it.
But the thing I could see is that Carnage using the element of surprise. He's like, oh yeah, I forgot, he shapeshifts. He has the ability, so he could sneak up on Magneto. But I mean, Magneto's got to be on his guard to fight off Carnage.
Yeah.
The abilities that Magneto has, amazing. But Carnage has to play the sneaky card to like get that Thief 100 skill or something. Get up on him. But
I mean, Carnage could sneak up on him, but now that all this was mentioned, Magneto has a huge advantage with the metal.
Yeah.
So now that I think, I'll cast my vote. I'm gonna give it a clear Magneto victory with the dropping the Golden Gate Bridge on Carnage.
I would have to take Magneto on this vote.
Yeah, I believe if Magneto didn't have any prior knowledge of Carnage, I feel like Carnage might be able to win. But it's still that, I'm not saying Carnage will win. I just think that would be a very interesting battle. But I feel like Magneto would know about Carnage and kind of know about this weakness most likely. I mean, the Taskmaster in that battle, we gave him the knowledge of knowing about his opponent because that's how he's so powerful against a lot of the villains. So I'd assume Magneto would have same knowledge of his opponent. So I feel like Magneto would win this one too. I have to give him my vote.
That's a second sweep in a row for the Marvel side.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty interesting.
Magneto's just as strong as the King Shark.
And the Mandarin.
Next one we got Sabretooth and Juggernaut. Now, I have to agree, Marvel and DC, they had a little bit of we went on their websites and we were trying to find out who do we want to put. And we kind of run out of villains, and some of them we didn't want to put in because they were really, really strong. We didn't want to have it one-sided the whole way. But we got out from Sabretooth as a Wolverine, basically.
Yeah, basically imagine Wolverine, but instead of the 3 metal claws, he has his
fingertips.
nails. Yeah, it's like fingernails. Cut you
and Juggernaut's basically just a dude that's like a tank. He can just burst through walls, cars.
He's had some type of something that made him powerful. I think he can survive without food and water. He spent years in rubble and he clawed his way out.
Yeah.
And I think he took out all the X-Men. The only way he was defeated was someone took off his helmet, and
that would be the big weakness, is the helmet. But
yeah.
I was always wondered why he had that helmet. He looked all funny to me. He's like a pancake or something with eyes. It was weird. I never really got that guy in the cartoons.
Yeah. These two are definitely both kind of savage, brute force fighters, which that's why they're pretty different, but their fighting styles are very alike.
I don't know if I'm really getting this wrong, but isn't there a villain that's a rhino?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, imagine that,
that would have been a really cool matchup.
I'm about to say.
Rhino.
Because I think there was that in the cartoons a while ago.
Yeah.
But Sabretooth, this one I really don't have my favorite. It's not my favorite round. Because Juggernaut, he's not my favorite villain. I always thought he was just a dude. He's strong, don't get me wrong. The dude bursts through walls. He can, crack and smash he's a Carnage man. You know what I'm saying?
I mean,
Got them muscles.
the,
But I mean,
the only movie he was ever in, he was kind of like made a joke of.
yeah, he was.
Yeah.
In that, what was that one scene we saw?
Yeah.
He basically just missed a person and just knocked out.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just like, okay.
Like he's one of my. I really like him. A little bit different from Q, but I understand where he's coming from though, because in the movies, he was only given a small part and he was kind of made a joke, and he isn't shown a whole lot. But he is the brother of Xavier, and he's really strong, and he's definitely a deadly foe, and especially in the comic world.
Yeah.
And
I also feel like,
but Sabretooth does have that same regenerating power as Wolverine.
yeah. 'Cause I think Wolverine, it's like he could get shot in the head and just be fine. His skin heals it up.
Mm-hmm. The one kind of weak, I think Sabretooth's healing is slightly less than Wolverine, I believe, but I don't even know if that's 100% accurate. But I know he's definitely really strong.
Yeah. But like if we, I like I said, there's some people breaking comic hearts again. Sabretooth, I haven't seen all the X-Men, but he was in an X-Men movie, and I didn't get to really see what happened or how strong he was. But I'm pretty sure the dude can do some damage. I mean, so can the Juggernaut. The dude can take down a lot of people. But like, I don't know if we want to start casting votes, because I don't really have that much to say about this round.
I would say I'd give it to Sabretooth for the regeneration power that he has. And he's got power, and he's got those claws things, and probably just, kind of like you lift the lid up, he just kind of like uses his claws to like lift up that Juggernaut hat.
This one, it's pretty tough for me, because I feel like Sabretooth would still live after the fight, but Juggernaut, I feel like his nails, even though they're a lot like Wolverine's claws, I feel like they wouldn't really... He wears like big armor, Juggernaut does, and I feel like he wouldn't really be affected a whole lot by Sabretooth's attacks, and his helmet in a lot of his depictions is actually like bolted down to his armor, so I don't feel like Sabretooth's gonna be able to take off his helmet. And his helmet's what he strikes with, because he is commonly used as like a ram attack and stuff.
Mention like how fast Wolverine was? No, Sabretooth.
Sabretooth, he's basically Wolverine.
Yeah, so I was like, because I was thinking that too, because I'm like, compared to Juggernaut and a guy with claws, I mean, he has, rejuvenation powers.
Yeah.
It's like, you get shot in the chest 40 times, dude's gonna come back.
Yeah.
And I think it would take literally like, decapitation or just something serious to get him to stop. Yeah. And it's like Juggernaut, I feel like he's a tank as a dude. He's just got like this armor. He's often like, except for in the movie, it was like normal human size. He's often like double the size of a person. He's big, He's a big guy. So I would, if I had to make a vote, I'd put it probably towards Juggernaut.
So we got 2-1 Juggernaut.
Now, I know there's gonna be a lot of people yelling at us for this, but I say Juggernaut 2. Which I know a lot of people say, oh, Sabretooth, he can literally regenerate his body. But I feel like Juggernaut will most likely beat him to a pulp and literally, like, smash his brain. And that would, even if his brain regenerates, as we saw in, I forgot the movie name, but in one of the X-Men movies, when Wolverine was shot in the head, he lost all of his memories. And so if Sabretooth, I feel like it would be very brutal. But I feel like by the time Sabretooth is actually able to damage Juggernaut, just because of how... He's near, like, invincibility. He's so strong. Maybe not near invincibility, but he's very powerful. So I feel like once Sabretooth's able to actually start injuring him badly, Juggernaut would have probably already kind of, like, smashed him down to a pulp and smashed his head and brain, which, if it did regenerate, he still wouldn't have that memory. And so I that's why I say Juggernaut.
Yeah.
So that's
we got
2-1.
Yeah.
Juggernaut's moving on.
Yeah.
So the next matchup, compare the names that we just mentioned before, maybe they don't have the power that they have. But we got the Green Goblin and
Red Skull. I'm sorry, this guy makes you laugh, man.
Red Skull was. I mean, we looked around. We're trying to figure out what should we do here, and he was kind of last option. But what really sold me on the Red Skull was in an old 1960s cartoon, Red Skull. I mean, he pistol whipped Captain America 10 feet into the air. I mean, that's enough for me to think he's legit.
Yeah, man. But back then though, it's funny. I'm not gonna lie,
Yeah.
it's funny. But Green Goblin, to be fair though, I never really got into that Green Goblin vibe.
Yeah,
I like the whole you had that I don't know which one we're kind of depict. Be like, well, I mean, same thing, but there's different varieties. But he's riding on this what was a hoverboard?
Yeah.
I thought that was he has these pumpkin bombs, and I thought I never got on the Goblin train, even though people were like, that's the Spider-Man. That's the original.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never really was a fan of Green Goblin either. As I didn't like him. I like almost everyone on this thing, but if I had to pick my favorite, he would not be probably in the top.
Yeah, but
10.
But I still think Red Skull makes me laugh though.
Yeah,
because it's
the power of Red Skull, which I've heard, is that he can walk up to you and just turn you into a red skull.
Oh,
I think it's some type of gas.
It's a red skull powder. He throws it in your face and it literally disintegrates your skin.
It turns it red.
Yeah.
It's a Nazi, Hail Hydra.
Yeah. I think actually his story is I think Hitler literally recruited him. Hitler just walked up I like your hatred.
Yeah, he's like, you has a hatred for all mankind.
One of the most evilest people in our world recruited this man.
Yeah. But I never to go into the aspects of the fighting of this point. I've never seen Red Skull, unless I've missed points, like I said. Did we ever see Red Skull in the air fighting? Because we saw him on the ground, machine guns with units, but by himself, one-on-one with Green Goblin.
He might have been in a jet before or something.
Maybe,
but that's not something he's with. He doesn't. I wouldn't assume that's with him. Yeah. I say we assume stuff that they normally use or carry.
Yeah, but it's Green Goblin though. He can. I feel in some cases he can get a little bit of a jump on somebody. From the ground, the higher ground always kind of puts the foot on the bottom ground. But no one ever said that Red Skull could.
I feel all this Green Goblin has to offer up there is just throwing those pumpkin grenades, which, Hitler trained this man. Hydra trained this man. So I think him just evading those bombs and just shooting them until he gets to the ground, and then using that pistol whip that he uses. It's
the pistol whip of death.
Red Skull. He's definitely, I feel combat and strategy wise, he commands whole armies a lot of times.
I think they said that he was one of the best strategists because of his Nazi background.
He's top Nazi. So
he and I really like him too, but the thing is he's often all he really has a lot of times when he's encountered is he just has an old World War II pistol. And that's not very powerful compared to Green Lantern. He has not Green Lantern, Green Goblin. Green Goblin has a full suit. He has a lot of these bombs or explosives, and he even has a hoverboard.
Yeah, the hoverboard, I think, if I'm not mistaken, can have swords on the front, or those spikes.
Yeah.
You could just send it at Red Skull.
Yeah, I think you can actually send it and make it explode too.
Yeah, self-destruct thing.
I think he's done that before.
Yeah, if I recall. But the dude has, going through weapons, I don't like to go in depth, keep it a light tone, but Red Skull, I could see him having a machine gun, a pistol, maybe a couple ground units, but one-on-one. See him having machine guns and pistols. Green Goblin. He's got aerial capacity. He can fly, and he also has portable bombs in the form of jack-o'-lanterns. And I don't know what else. Can't remember. I think there's another thing, but I know that he has basically a self-destructing knife-wielding hoverboard that he could send without him on it at somebody. You know, and it depends how it works out. It's kind of tough again. I don't know who.
Do you want to go ahead and vote first? You haven't done that yet.
I hate setting the tone. The deciding's not my thing, but I would feel just because of the aerial capability of Green Goblin, he could take the cake on it. You know.
Yeah.
You know.
I feel like given his Hydra ability, that like Red Skull is gonna be able to get Green Goblin to the ground and use some of those savage pistol whips he's known for.
The savage pistol whips, man.
So you're going Red Skull?
Yes.
I definitely think Red Skull has a better strategy and tactical, and even combat-wise, he's more powerful, I feel like, than Green Goblin. But the thing is, Green Goblin has these modern technologies that well, for the movie and stuff, we don't have them actually, like real life, but he has a hoverboard, armor suit, and grenades, and I feel like he could beat his strategies in a one-on-one fight with just his guns. So I'd say Green Goblin too.
All right.
See, that kind of made me like lean though, like, you know, I didn't know who to choose because you have a strategic mind like Red Skull, and he could do, you know, ambushes or something, you know, but I think the aerial thing really puts Red Skull on the ground limited, you know. Yeah. But that's the only thing that kept me from voting Red Skull.
So we got a Green Goblin advancing.
So our current
semifinals.
Yeah, for DC, we are going to do this one next. Lex Luthor and Bizarro. Then our other DC one is King Shark and Mr. Freeze. Our Marvel one is the Mandarin and Magneto. And the other one is the Juggernaut and Green Goblin.
I think we should do this DC then Marvel, then DC then Marvel.
Yeah, like a back and forth.
So, we got Lex Luthor and Bizarro. So, the creator of Bizarro going one-on-one with him.
Oh, time to meet your maker.
Yeah, that's the part.
So Lex Luthor, I feel like even though Bizarro is technically supposed to be Superman's opposite, I'd say Lex Luthor is even more his opposite because Lex Luthor doesn't have powers and Lex Luthor is a genius with a set of armor, mech suit, and Lex Luthor's often, probably to my knowledge, he uses Superman's weakness the most against him, but he is also Superman's arch enemy. And Bizarro, like we discussed before, he's really powerful, really strong, stronger than Superman. And I feel like in a fight, it'd be really tough and it'd be interesting.
Yeah. I'm sorry. You can talk shit. I just, I get excited. I love this stuff.
If you create something, you should be able to destroy it usually, and especially if you're as smart as Lex Luthor, you probably have a backup plan in store of knowing how to take out Bizarro if it came to it.
Yeah. Like, I'm not voting right now, but I'm taking, like, info from, like, the stuff we've talked about before. You know, Bizarro, well, actually, let's start with Lex Luthor. I want to start with Lex Luthor. There we go. I've taken it from DC. Is it DC Universe Online? Yeah. The one opening scene that really struck me was that Lex Luthor. I think they over exemplified his suit though. Like it looked like a big mech suit, but he had a spear with kryptonite on it. And people may say, "Oh, that if you stick it, you stab someone like Superman with it, it's gonna die." And they're like, "Oh, that's a weakness for Bizarro. He'll be destroyed." But then I thought to myself, maybe not. And I'm but then I was thinking back to Superboy. He held a kryptonite rock a boulder basically and threw it back at Superboy.
Yeah.
And it's like he didn't seem to be phased at all.
I also feel at some points I don't think Bizarro would even know that there's a fight happening.
Yeah.
If you guys don't know anything about Bizarro, you definitely just look into him a little bit. He's so funny.
Yeah.
Like,
look up some cartoons. You know, the cartoon.
Definitely like one of the dumbest, like least intelligent, like superheroes ever, supervillains.
Yeah, but I just Lex Luthor. I feel like, as a genius as they are, I feel like he could slip, but Bizarro could do the same. You know, like I don't know how to explain it. The bigger someone could be, the harder they're gonna fall. You may have a mech suit, but if you're stronger than Superman, I mean, why don't you like rip that suit off the guy? You can just pummel him down.
I feel like I know he would have a plan. Like I know it's a cheap like cop out to say he has a plan. Like oh, Batman has a gadget for that. But I would see the Lex Luthor outsmarting somebody that's not even on his level of intelligence.
Yeah. It's hard to say. Like this is where we get down to like it's you talk because it gets down to the semifinals we're in right now. So but Bizarro, I think, knowledge wise, I feel like Bizarro is at a disadvantage because he can be swayed like easily. I think they tricked him into a military site to be blown up, and he followed it anyway. You know, Lex Luthor could have some type of contraption that just destroy. You know,
brain over brawn.
Brain over brawn. Yeah. But if we or Devin, you want to say or DK?
Yeah, actually, well, the thing is, like John was saying, he has a plan. Bizarro actually does have a weakness, much like Kryptonite. It's the same effects as Kryptonite, except when Bizarro was first created, it was by a machine that like duplicated Superman, and pieces of what that machine, when it would make metal, when it would duplicate items, those items would have some type of weird effect, and items duplicated would be like Bizarro's weakness. So I feel like Lex, being his creator, could easily most likely have some of these things that are his weakness, and I'll go ahead and throw my first vote in. I really feel like Lex having a plan and being probably one of the smartest villains in the whole DC universe, and being his creator, most likely has the capability to beating Bizarro. Yeah. So my vote goes to Lex.
I would just say the same thing as Lex because it's just the creator taking out what he created.
Yeah, like how much I like Bizarro because it's like it's funny how they play the guy. Cartoons they make him really it's funny. But I feel like in combat you have to know and have intelligence of what you're gonna do. And Bizarro, I think, could have a complete blind side where Lex Luthor knows I'm gonna do that, and Bizarro's just like, I'm a scarecrow, but and then Lex, that's where my vote stands, is over Lex. So that's a sweep.
Alright, so Lex wins that. We're about to hit about an hour, and I think we're going to take a small break.
Yeah.
So
we will be right back. Alright, and now we are back with our supervillain tournament going on right now. And we just got finished with the one semifinal on the left side for DC, which is, it was Lex Luthor and Bizarro, and it was I think it was a sweep. It was a sweep, right? Yeah, we did that sweep. Yeah. Did that sweep for Lex, who passed on. And now we are on the, I think, awaited one of the funner rounds, which is the semifinal for King Shark and Mr. Freeze.
Yeah, well, do you want to maybe switch to...
Let's switch to Marvel to...
Oh, you want to switch to Marvel?
Yeah, just to keep it fresh, yeah.
Okay.
Switch it back and forth every round.
I'm fine with that.
But yeah, on this side we have Mandarin and Magneto.
This
is a... This one
next to
was
King
one
Shark.
of the hardest ones to decide for me because, I mean, the matchup, like, I can't find an advantage right now.
Yeah, this one might. I'm trying to think of how Mandarin could kind of combat this, but I say Magneto has one big advantage.
Yeah.
Those rings, I'm assuming he will be able to control them, so he could slide them off, make him crush his own fingers and slide them off, or just make them expand and break off.
Like, I'm kind of confused though, because like, well, not confused. I'm more concerned. It's, you know, I don't think they're not. Oh God, I'm trying to like. They're not really Are they metal? Does anyone?
And they come from an alien planet. They're alien.
So it's like a rare element. We don't know if it's metal.
And he can't necessarily control all metal. I don't think. I think it's just what a magnet can.
Yeah, it's sort of
affect.
like a magnet, but it's like a magnet with metal.
Yeah, so these alien metals might actually not be able to be affected.
You know, I would expect a ring to be some type of metal.
So that would be like the unknown territory almost.
Yeah.
So, I mean, go with the typical Magneto lifting up the Golden Gate Bridge again and throwing it, you know, or we got the Mandarin with, you know, slowing down time, putting some smoke in his face, and zapping some beams at him to avoid the metal magnet stuff. But it's almost like they cancel each other out, so if you guys have any more input on that,
I don't know, but
I do have to say, like, his rings did come from another planet, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they aren't that doesn't necessarily mean they have to be an alien metal either.
Yeah.
Like, there's normal elements on all planets and stuff.
Yeah, because it's like expecting a ring to be some type of metal, because I don't think you see dirt rings. You know, you expect some type of physical hard material to have something on your fingers, and you know, I've only been to ring stores with my parents and stuff like that, and I've never, you know, every time you touch them, I don't think there's one made of paper, unless you could if you wanted, but I mean, majority of the time, they're metal. And I mean, magnets attract metal.
Yeah.
They could, you know, depending on how fast, you know, Mandarin could be to, you know, Magneto's presence, he could be quicker, slow down time, you know, appear behind Magneto. Mm-hmm. But it would depend on the timing of Magneto's ability to take the rings off, or if he can take Mandarin by his surprise, almost.
Yeah.
Because if Mandarin sees Magneto, he could be like, "Ooh, zap, time slowed, I can move," you know. Mm-hmm. And Magneto's just sitting there, you know. So it's tough though, because both are really powerful. They're tough.
Ready for voting?
Yeah, you ready?
I mean, this is probably just a quick vote because this could go either way. So I want to take a second to think real quick. So if anybody else,
you got any final thoughts or?
You know, Mandarin is definitely very powerful, and all of his rings are very powerful too. Even though his rings are mostly just kind of generic powers like rays and poison gas, and one of his rings is just making darkness around him. And Magneto, he using the same kind of techniques as before. He could, RJ was saying Mandarin could possibly sneak up on back from the behind, slipping up on a little bit. But you know, Magneto could encase himself in metal or pit metal behind him.
Yeah, that is true. I was thinking that, like, as you were saying it, because I'm like, Magneto, he uses sort of like the environment as his weapon. He doesn't really have like a gun or his fist. I guess he could if he wanted, but who stops Magneto from throwing a freaking SUV at Mandarin across the street and knocking him down?
Yeah,
you know, Mandarin, like I said, has to be.
I mean, he could slow the time.
But like I
Yeah,
said, it would have to be a surprise. Show
Yeah.
up,
But-
I'm here. You know.
Yeah, but honestly, stick with what I said originally. Magneto, I believe he would be able to just flip those rings off, like slide those rings off his fingers, and possibly even put them on himself, and then become Mandarin Magneto.
It's kind of like I guess you'd say like a Western duel, because you would have to be the first guy to get your gun out to win this fight. Because Mandarin, he sees Magneto, instant slow time or activating those depths of space rays.
Yeah.
And it's like Magneto, he would have to be the first to grab something metal or have some type of magnet power and literally like just knock Mandarin down. It's the quickness of the gun you pull out, whoever wins, and it's hard. It's just another hard. I like the hard rounds because it makes you think about it, but I don't know who to vote for, man. This is tough.
Yeah. My vote has to go to Magneto. Just what I've been saying. I really feel like Magneto would be able to pull those rings off, and even if the time is slow, Mandarin's still going fast, so his power. I don't feel like Magneto's powers would get slowed too much, so I have to give this round to Magneto.
Magneto or Mandarin? This is tough because I like to stick to that ideology because, you know, it's that luck of the draw, man. You gotta pull that move quick. Magneto, I don't know, man. I don't think Magneto could do it. I really don't. I feel like it would have to be like a miracle swipe that he has to pull those rings off or knock him down. And so my vote has to be Mandarin.
I'm gonna go under the assumption that he can't pull the rings off just in case some guy watching this right now knows that that's not possible.
That's not right, J-Hook.
And he's just raging so bad when he's hearing DK just going like pulling the rings off.
Well, yeah, I know there's probably gonna be a lot of people with everything.
I mean, I'm pretty
say.
sure it's happened so much right now.
Especially that Juggernaut one, like, Sabretooth, he can literally regenerate his whole entire body. What the fuck you guys talking about? Dislike.
Yeah.
But, you know, I feel like I'm just gonna go at it from this, like, side of thinking is that Mandarin, he usually takes on this Iron Man, you know, just goes on one-on-one with man, like the Iron Man. While Magneto, the whole X-Men's going after him. He's that powerful. So I would just, since I can't really decide who has the upper advantage, I'll just look at opponents-wise and just say, I'd say Magneto would win.
All right. I had to admit though, like I'm okay with that because that's tough.
Yeah,
That's a
good,
tough round.
good one.
You know, Magneto. It's the power of Magneto, and Mandarin's power though in some cases can be just bam, right in the face. But Magneto just, I feel like, you know, he has to be, like, you know, just right there.
Yeah.
But
all right, so I guess we'll move on to the one we were all so excited about: King Shark versus Mr. Freeze.
Now, some will say, how did this make it this far? I mean, I know it's the second round, but King Shark and Mr. Freeze, like, how would they stack up to Magneto or Lex Luthor? I mean, it's King Shark, but it's a god. It's a shark god. A king of a fish.
He's worshipped as a god, and I think I don't know if he actually is or isn't, but he is. But that doesn't really like give him. He's just basically a big shark.
I'll put this in perspective right now. We're the human race right now. We're living on this planet. What if giant human walks around? He's just like King Human. Would you be intimidated by somebody that powerful? Would you worship him?
That would be really awesome, but I don't know if I would necessarily like call him a god. But that would be
something that you haven't seen. Like, no shark has seen a humongous, beefed up talking shark.
Yeah.
I got some mixed things on this.
Well, I mean, to be fair, we already got a lot of humongous people walking around, especially here in
No.
No offense, I'm large too. Not too that large.
I got that chubby.
I gotta say,
But like,
it's lots of.
I'm talking like.
That's not PC.
I just offended somebody. I know. I'm sorry.
We got
Forgive me.
that 20 feet tall shark or that 20 feet tall human. Like, I've been just using the word 20 feet. Like, if you've seen somebody that big, you'd be amazed because you know it's not of this world. And you gotta
It'd be
a god.
awesome. It'd be amazing.
Especially like way back then, like King Shark would rule everything back then. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
Oh man.
But you gotta look at it like Mr. Freeze. Like, I know a lot of times just in like movies and stuff, someone gets frozen in ice and they're just like, and they break out of the ice. But I feel like even in like King Shark's territory, like maybe on a shore or like near the ocean, I feel like being able to freeze the water and just slow, like King Shark, he's a fish, and being frozen probably is not very good for him. And I feel like that would be kind of tough for King Shark to. Bronze wise, King Shark is a lot stronger, but Mr. Freeze definitely, like, being able to slow him down and like affect King Shark in that way.
Yeah.
Really, it's
Because like I was thinking that like I was actually thinking the exact thing. Like I was like, even if Freeze is on a shore or he's on a raft or if he's even like in his own factory, you know, making the water freeze, fish are gonna freeze or slow down. They're gonna like be pretty cold. I've known that, you know, when fish get cold, they travel to the bottom of the lake during winter because it's warm. But freezing King Shark, man, you would have to freeze that guy like to just the sub-zero of temperatures to like if you really want to get rid of him, to break him, shatter him to pieces of ice.
It's a long process to freeze.
It's long, but I mean, it's like, you know, he could slow him down by freezing a foot, and he's stuck there.
yeah.
But King Shark, I mean, King Shark has to be up close. He has to be up close. Like, he has to be a physical, you know, brawn guy. He has to slam, smash, punch, grab. And then Freeze can stay at a pretty deep distance and still kind of be like, you know, freeze your hands, freeze your legs. And he's just like, I'm slow. You can't move. But I feel like the gun really gives the Freeze the kind of the upper hill. You know?
In all seriousness, though, it's more of Mr. Freeze can slow King Shark and stop him, but if King Shark ever reaches Mr. Freeze, it's over.
Yeah.
I agree with that too. Like, Mr. Freeze, he's just a human, like, that's cold as fuck and has an ice ray.
Yeah, but I mean, okay, like, just, I know this is just tough because I feel like I know where, like, each one of us lean, but, like, I'm just making assumptions. But let's say, instead of near a shore or near a Sub-Zero factory, let's make this round interesting. Let's say they're, like, Mortal Kombat distance away from each other, and they're one-on-one.
Yeah.
You know, who wins this round?
I think it would be King Shark because it's just...
You voting King Shark?
Yeah. I gotta go for Freeze, man. He's got that gun.
You know, like...
He's got that zero
gun. I want to vote Mr. Freeze. I think I gotta go King Shark, too, because shooting ice at him would affect him, but I feel like it's not instantaneously.
Yeah.
And by the time... I feel like King Shark would be able to reach Mr. Freeze by the time he's starting to get ice shot at him. So, yeah, I'm going King Shark, too.
Yeah. Taking down my favorite villain, man.
Yeah.
So, I feel like King Shark is taking out two guys that
are very vital.
Everybody watching this is screaming about.
Yeah, I haven't even heard of this King Shark guy. He's killed Mr. Freeze and Deathstroke. Like, you guys are biased as hell. But this is just what we're just like talking about this, and
what we would think.
These aren't accurate really too much. It's just what we think, and it'd be cool if you guys tell us what you think too, or whoever's watching. I guess.
So we got the Juggernaut and the Green Goblin.
On the right side for Marvel back. And if I had to put any input on what this says, I actually really like this matchup. Because I think it's fair. You have an aerial guy who drops bombs, but you have a dude who can take the bombs because he's basically a walking tank.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's really... Juggernaut can take a lot. And, Green Goblin with the bombs, you only got so many. And then you have to go physical. And Juggernaut could just punch the guy and he's dead.
Yeah, I kind of see Juggernaut as like a kind of lower level version of the Hulk. He's about the same like body type or like size, except he's a lot less powerful. He's not as strong as the Hulk.
Yeah.
Like I said, I feel like if the Hulk would like level up, and I feel like Hulk is the final form.
The main thing going into this is that there's not anything the Green Goblin can do that would hurt Juggernaut.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of thinking.
The thing that Green Goblin would have to rely on is the old Olay, like, run into the walls and just get pummeled by the debris. That's the only thing you would have going for him is just kind of leading him into a wall.
I don't even think, in all honesty, like that whole like knives in front of the hoverboard, I honestly feel like Juggernaut could just grab it.
Yeah.
Like in midair. Because he's that big. You know?
Like those bombs and stuff would really affect Red Skull because he's kind of just a person with like a red skull. But the Juggernaut, those bombs and stuff, I don't think they would even do much.
Yeah,
to
he's
him.
wearing basically just tank armor. He's got like the bolted down, the vest with the armor, and it's maybe his skin gets hurt. But I mean, if anything else, the dude still walking down the street.
Yeah, I feel like this round probably going to go by pretty fast.
But telling how we're talking
because it's pretty. I have to say, like, I'm ready to vote.
Yeah,
like, there's not much to say about this.
I'm
one.
ready to cast my ballot.
Yeah, I go Juggernaut.
Same here.
And now I know this would be out of order the switching that we're doing, but since we got Juggernaut versus Magneto, a guy that's whole armor is made out of metal.
Actually, I'm not sure if it is. It might be made out of like a concrete-based thing.
I mean,
yeah, we could. Let's go ahead and do the DC one. We'll look that up because that's going to be a big factor if it is.
Because if it's metal, then it's a clear victory right there.
Because I feel like a lot of parts of it is metal, but I remember it's depicted as it doesn't necessarily look very metal-like in some depictions. So I guess we can do the DC one.
So we got Lex versus the main fish of the sea, King Shark.
I don't know what it is, man. I gotta put my opinion in here, but it's like feels like King Shark, man. It's like he's a one and done deal, He's kind of like maybe he's a guy, but I think we're. I don't know.
He's really tough. But I think the reason why he's made it so far is he's been the people he's faced. He's had an advantage against them. But this one. Is a little bit more different, actually.
As much as I like the King Shark, I feel like
brains against bronze again, man.
Yeah, it's that factor, and I don't know if sharks have much bigger brains. And if it's just mainly just Lex Luthor.
Yeah, I kind of feel like Lex Luthor. He still has that big mech suit. He even though bullets in the little Flash part where he was shown, bullets didn't seem to affect him. I feel like Lex would be able to defeat him. Like, the Flash defeated him pretty quickly by electrocuting him, and like he ran on water and created some type of water tornado, which defeated him. And so I feel like Lex would be able to figure out this stuff and know. Even if he didn't really have a lot of prior knowledge, I feel like after fighting a little bit, because this isn't a battle where it's a quick draw. This is going to have to be a battle. There's a lot of fighting and combat. It's going to be drawn out a little bit. But I feel like Lex, after seeing he's not affected by bullets, even if he has no prior knowledge, he would change up his fighting style and find out what's best. Damages King Shark. So I'm leaning a little bit more towards Lex right now, but I haven't cast in my vote yet.
I mean, King Shark, bulletproof, swims fast. He's a giant freaking shark.
Now,
He's basically a god. But I have to bring back this too. Lex taking out Bizarro, stronger than Superman.
Yeah.
Lex has this capable knowledge that he could just use his unstoppable wits, I think, to get away with taking King Shark to his knees. But then again, like I said, it's one of those get to Lex first. Well, King Shark's gonna rip him in half. But Lex, if he plans it out, he could do some dang good damage to King Shark.
All right. Well, I guess I vote Lex.
yeah, I feel like since Lex makes his own armor, he'd probably find some type of electricity, maybe. You know,
Yeah.
tranquilizer, something.
Yeah, something of that sort. But
Yeah.
I really, if I had to make my vote now, I'd say Lex,
So
without a doubt.
got Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
He's
Going to
our
the
DC
championship.
champion. Let's see who he's going first.
Now
Did we ever find out if
actually, when we were doing that, I looked it up and it was something really interesting. It says that the Juggernaut basically has this, like, I think it's called the Crimson Gem of, I'm gonna murder this, Sayatorak. And it gives him this, like, invisible force field that when he's in motion, he, like, that's why he can burst through walls.
Oh,
Because he's
yeah.
moving and he can, like, burst through anything. And there's this metal cap that he wears on, like, a metal skull cap that he wears underneath the dome. But it's made from the same metal as Magneto's helmet that blocks psi energy. And when he's really not in motion, he's kind of vulnerable, but his mental ability can be attacked.
yeah.
But so it depends on if he's in motion. And really, I'm going on like Magneto's side. Like I'm not making my vote. I'm saying from Magneto's point of view, he would have to hit him when he's not moving. He has to, if he's in motion, he has to do something mentally to really kind of slow Juggernaut down.
Yeah.
But Juggernaut in motion, he just walk up to Magneto, kind of like walk on him.
Yeah.
But it's hard. This is really hard.
I
Well-
think I would go from the whole Magneto controlling metal. If he's able to bury Juggernaut, that's how he would win the fight.
Yeah, like just completely bury him under.
Well, Juggernaut in like his story, he was buried under rubble, and he literally spent years digging out until he got out.
Yeah.
But the Juggernaut, he's a very strong brute force, but something else we're forgetting is Magneto can fly. He could get pieces of metal under his feet and just
Yeah.
bring himself into the air. And Juggernaut, he is basically grounded. He's stuck on the ground. He's not going to be able to touch him. So even if it takes a long time, like this is, and who knows, Juggernaut's armor may be out of, probably is made out of metal.
Well, yeah, I would expect so. I mean,
So he could just use that metal to kind of crush Juggernaut
crush him
inwards.
from the
Yeah.
outside to the in.
Yeah, and that would be very powerful. But even if that doesn't defeat him, Magneto could probably just fly high enough up. And Juggernaut could toss stuff at him, but I feel like that would be give
He
Magneto
tossed
a
his
large.
cars. Magneto could stop the car and throw it
Yeah.
right back at him. It's
Mhm. I feel like Magneto has a pretty big advantage with being able to fly and being able to control metal.
We got Magneto winning.
I would
Yeah.
My vote's leaning towards Magneto.
So for this final matchup we got here, which is Lex Luthor versus Magneto, I'm gonna assume, since Lex Luthor's so smart, that he's not gonna be wearing metal into this. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna just go, oh, he's wearing a metal mech suit. That's it,
Mhm. Yeah.
Since Magneto's our Marvel champion and Lex Luthor's DC. And this is like, this is where the crown comes in, it's like Lex Luthor, Magneto, I mean, just, Lex Luthor, he doesn't have to wear a metal suit, he could be totally like in a different, complete outer skin. But use like Magneto's environment capabilities, he could still pull a beam out of a building and just whack
Yeah.
Lex Luthor.
We have seen in some of the more recent X-Men movies, they actually a lot of times used like a plastic, like a gun made out of plastic.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that if just the law enforcements are able to come up with that, I'm pretty sure Lex Luthor would be able to come up with multiple gadgets that could combat Magneto.
Yeah.
So yeah, this would be tough because I would assume Magneto would not come into this battle with anything.
I mean, they're both fairly smart.
In the previous 3 matchups, Luthor's had the brains advantage, but Magneto's one of the smartest Marvel characters there is. So.
You know, he takes down the X-Men.
Yeah.
You know, Lex Luthor, I mean, he takes down a lot of people too, but I mean, Magneto, I mean, everyone knows that guy. He has this unrelenting force. You know, he could just pick up, like you said, I'm not trying to bring it back, but if he can pick up a bridge 1.7 miles long,
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know how much metal you could drop on Lex Luthor in one series.
It's crazy. Like he has a lot of power.
You know, I don't want to be biased, but then if you look at Lex Luthor's side, he's very smart.
Yeah,
he can prepare for that environment. But what can you use that's not metal to face Magneto?
I would assume he would have some type of gun, like if they've used an X-Men
like a
movie.
Laser gun. Because I mean, lasers aren't metal.
Yeah, but
the gun would have.
That gun would probably be. I'd say you probably have a normal gun. We can at least safely assume that because it was in the X-Men movie.
Yeah.
But I'll also assume he probably has other types of gadgets that he's able to make. Like, he'll probably make some type of plastic explosion, or like plastic bomb, with certain types of chemicals and stuff inside of it.
Because I mean, Lex Luthor gotta get close without like metal on him. Because he would have to be fairly in the presence, I guess you could say, of Magneto, like face to face, just close. He has to be very close to fight this.
Yeah.
I mean, this you know, saying the brains against bronze things, it's a cliche from this point of this podcast right now, because you said it so long. But I mean, at one point, what can you use that's not metal to protect you? You know, plastic bombs, but you gotta throw them somewhere.
He most likely has very basic gadgets. Like, before he was in his metal mech suit that probably had all these, he could fly and all this other stuff in it, but now he's probably grounded, doesn't have that great protection, and he probably has a gun and some bombs, and you could probably safely assume some other like basic gadgets, but they're just gonna be basic gadgets, like possibly nets and stuff, and it would be tough because I feel like Lex Luthor would have some type of plan or some type of defense against him, but Magneto, he definitely has that superpower advantage too, because we can't forget Lex Luthor's just a human that's very smart.
Because you know, Magneto's a mutant.
Yeah. Yeah,
he's classified as a mutant.
Yeah,
he's not human.
He has the power to control metal.
Yeah, and it's because I'm kind of like compare it with hero fighting, but this is villains, because the reason Lex Luthor could take down Superman is he's got kryptonite, which is a smart thing. But the reason I think he also won was because, you know, Batman couldn't take the metal suit and just like throw it across the play yard like it's just like a piece of garbage. But Magneto, I mean, like I said, he could pick up a car and just throw it. He has so many cars on the streets. He could have steel beams in buildings and whatever he comes up with. He could stop bullets, I'm presuming. He could stop missiles and throw them back at where they came from. And you're just like, okay, how much power does this guy have? You know, it's a very difficult championship.
You got any thoughts on this, J-Hooks?
So if you look at each individual thing, like, let's say the smarts wise, they're equal. Well, not, maybe one has a slight advantage, probably Lex, but I feel like you can't really have like a big advantage in like intelligence though here. this whole time you guys been talking, I was trying to think of one possible way Lex Luthor could end this, and I can't think of one. Like, it would seem very hard for me to find a way Lex Luthor could
The old spear.
take out Magneto.
Yeah, like Lex, the way he beat Bizarro is he even if he didn't have this, I feel like he would have still beat Bizarro, but most likely guessing by he created Bizarro and he knows about Bizarro.
So he knows how to destroy Bizarro.
Yeah, he most likely had Bizarro's weakness, but even if he didn't have that, I feel like he would have still beat Bizarro.
Yeah. And also, let's take into fact that these are totally two different villains.
Yeah.
They're not from the same. Well, I mean, not from the same. I guess you could say universe.
Yeah.
You know, Marvel and DC, they'll mix for Justice League, but it's like these villains, they don't talk to each other that much. Lex Luthor could walk in. They both walk in blind. You know.
Yeah.
It's a double blind thing.
I think I'm ready to vote.
Oh, man. If this is like a 1-1, I don't want to be the guy to vote.
Like,
You go first.
Okay, fine.
yeah.
The reasoning for my vote, because I'm gonna get it off my chest quick, is Magneto. The only reason is because Lex Luthor, you know, the brains. Unless I'm completely missing a clue as to what Lex could use that's not material of metal wise to fight Magneto like efficiently. I don't know what it is, and I think Magneto would just have unrelenting force against Lex. Mm-hmm. You know, you can trap him in a metal ball and roll him down the road. It's just, you know,
like, I really feel like Lex Luthor would be able to kill him just with like a simple gun, and like his gun could be made out of plastic and stuff. But the thing is, I'm pretty sure after seeing Lex pull out some of his items, Magneto could easily just pull up a metal sheet or a metal wall in front of him and block these bullets. And besides that, like, there's not a whole lot Lex can do against Magneto. Like what I was going on before, he beat Bizarro by a weakness, and he beat Joker by he had better gadgets and he was more smart than Joker.
I think it's a lot to do with Lex Luthor. Most of the people he fights, he kind of has to prepare for and know about. And if we're looking at this, like, we're gonna allow him to know that, like, you can't wear metal because that's a bad idea. But he doesn't, like, really know much about Magneto other than that. So I don't know how he. I mean, he could maybe think on his feet, come up with a strategy, but it might be too late since Magneto's power is overpowered Lex.
I feel like even if he did know a lot about him,
like, I think I'm sorry to interrupt, but in the one movie where they actually, you know, they made Professor X, you know, the guy who took the bullet in the spine, Magneto, he can reflect bullets from his fingers, his hand. He can just, like, you know, walk through the crowd and just block bullets.
I would assume he would have some type of bullet that doesn't contain, because remember, Magneto can only affect the metals that Magus can affect.
Yeah.
He can't affect every single metal. So I would assume
that is true.
Lex would prepare for this, but I still have to say my vote goes to Magneto, though, because he doesn't have a big advantage, and like Lex Luthor doesn't have an advantage on Magneto, and usually if he doesn't have an advantage on someone, he kind of likes to rely on a weakness, but Magneto doesn't have a weakness really either. So that's why I'm giving it to Magneto.
So we got a winner.
We've got our final winner of the villain tournament.
Now, if any of you have any other villains that it's like a huge, like, we missed here that should have been in this,
or if you wanted them to be in there,
it'd be nice to know. If you were upset by King Shark's winning streak, please let the roast begin.
Let the roast begin in the comments.
Yeah.
But like I said, if you played along with us, tell us your own winner. You know, if you asked your friends, or if you just did it yourself. You know, I made that decision. But it's been nice for our first episode.
Yeah.
You know.
We do plan to do more, like, if you listen this long, that's great. But if superheroes isn't exactly your thing and comics and stuff, like, none of us are really that big. Like, there's probably a few things that we might have missed that you might have noticed. But we don't plan to do only superheroes and stuff. So if this wasn't your cup of tea,
you can mention things like we do video games, movies, life questions, or type of tough
we're
questions.
Completely open to suggestions if you have any.
We plan to do anything and everything that we would
I don't
enjoy
know.
to talk
Don't say
about.
That's weird. Don't say on the internet anything and everything.
Well, I mean, yeah, we're open to ideas and
yeah.
stuff, and we like to cover, especially me. I'm pretty big in video games and stuff, and I could talk about that. So
yeah,
next
upcoming E3, man.
Oh,
yeah, that'll be a good
cool.
time.
That'll be a good
knowledge
topic,
is better than our comic knowledge.
Yeah. So if you're yelling at us about how we don't know a lot of things, then video games we know a lot about.
The comic villain heartbreaker this episode. It's been fun. Our first episode. Hopefully we can do this more often, and we'll do it continuously.
Yeah.
So, if that's it.
See you next time.
The next time.